The snowflakes make fun of my Ford F-350 dually because it only makes 13 miles a gallon. And I say nope, makes 13 and a half. Welcome to the 2023 Washington Auto Show. A lot more attendees this year, it's good to see. However, the theme of this year's show, to use a term coined by Paul Schmucker from Test Drive, is attack of the Hatch-UVs. They are overtaking America. They are littering the roads. We're going to be on a search to find and review and verbally destroy as many Hatch-UVs as we can. Let's go. All right, we've reached abomination number 1, the Toyota Crown. This is the replacement for the Toyota Avalon, which admittedly was not selling super well, especially compared to the Toyota Camry, which has been one of the best-selling vehicles in America for decades. And Toyota said, all right, the Avalon's not selling well. Its main customers are dying off. What can we replace it with? So they said, well, what do Americans like? They like SUVs, they like sitting up high, they like plastic wheel arches that make them feel tough and rugged. So they took a large sedan called the Toyota Crown, and they put a little bit of plastic trim around the rear wheels, and they lifted it off the ground by about 2 to 3 inches to make it kind of a sedan UV. And this is what we get. I like the two-tone coloring. Makes it look nice and aggressive. Little polished metal accents on the wheels look nice. However, in my opinion, the back end of the car is overly rounded compared to the rest of the car. You have all these lines and creases, character line going down the door. You have all these pointy bits of the front of the car, which is reminiscent of the current Corolla. A little bit of the old Avalon, honestly, with a giant grille. It looks super aggressive up front. You get to the back and it's like a late 90s Taurus. Very bulbous. And the sale numbers, we'll just have to wait and see whether Americans fall for the sedan UV. This is the Chevy Bolt, one of the first semi-affordable all-electric cars with a significant amount of range. This is the second generation of it. 120 mpge overall. I like it in this nice blue color. Let's sit in the front seat, see how the comfort is. Here we are in the front seat. The second generation Bolt is much nicer on the inside than the first generation. The first generation was very cheap, chintzy, lots of Lego plastic. We do have a push button shifter, kind of a la Hyundai and Honda. Big infotainment screen with some knobs, although lots of glossy black piano finish to get scratched up. Steering wheel's pretty thin, definitely not very sporty. Good view out the front windshield, nice corner window there. Now the front seats are not very comfortable. They're kind of just slabs of foam. Bolsters are very minimal, and the seat cushion especially is very short. These side bolsters are pathetically small. You barely feel them, like they just stick out of the plastic side molding. Nice touch points. I mean, the quality of the interior is much better than it used to be. Now I've adjusted my seat for myself at 6'1", and if I sit behind myself, my knees are touching. They're not pressed into so much, but they are definitely touching the seat in front of me. Hair brushing the roof. Not a huge amount of space back in here. Pretty sizable blind spot, but it's a nice little hatch. Now in contrast, this is the Bolt EUV. This is very, very similar to the normal Bolt, This is the Bolt EUV. It's very similar to the Bolt in dimensions and in capability, and also very similar in range. A little bit less, simply because this is an EUV. Another Hatch-UV, you'd say. Notice slightly more plastic cladding around the wheel arches, just a tiny bit. A little bit more ground clearance, because they thought that the regular Bolt was a little bit too much like a normal hatchback. They wanted something a little bit more SUV appearance. So it's a couple inches longer, couple inches taller, not that much bigger inside. It's essentially perfectly identical on the inside. We found another one, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that these two cars exist in tandem, to me, is just kind of ridiculous. Here we are at Hyundai. This is the mid-sized SUV, the Santa Fe Hybrid, an SUV. This is the small SUV, the Tucson Hybrid, an actual SUV. And this is the Kia Kona Electric, a Hatch-UV. This is based on originally the Hyundai Accent subcompact architecture, a vehicle no longer offered by Hyundai, and you can clearly see that essentially it's an Accent hatchback that's been raised about 3 inches off the ground. Look at the space in those wheel wells there. Now in this vehicle, the electric, just to differentiate it, they've made the wheel arches the same color as the body, so that makes it actually look more like the hatchback that it really is, which makes the ride height increase even much more puzzling. See, if you just lower the vehicle those extra 2 to 3 inches, you increase the handling because you're lowering the center of gravity. You're also making it more efficient because you're taking more vehicle out of the air. And of course, they take this and they line it up next to the actual SUVs to fool the public, to make you think that no, this is not, this does not have Hyundai Accent ancestry. This is an SUV built Ford tough. I guarantee you 80% of these, the most off-roading they will do is when a road is being repaved and there's a bunch of loose gravel all over the place. This is the Volvo V60 Cross Country, the one and only pure wagon at the Washington Auto Show in 2023. You have nice brown leather trim, a little bit of wood grain along the paneling, big touchscreen with some knobs, although just like volume and climate will have to be throughout the screen. A little bit of black plastic trim throughout here. Monostable shifter design, if you like that or not. Big digital display. In order to reveal the cup holders, looks like this has to go back. Let's see how the back seats are. Sitting behind myself, I have mediocre legroom. If I move my legs to the side, they barely do not touch the seat, but in the middle they definitely do. Plenty of headroom. Yeah, this very long moonroof that goes across the length of the car. Because of the legroom issue, very little of my legs is actually touching the back seat. Pretty good visibility out the back. And if you look at the outside of this car, this is not a small vehicle, it's pretty long. Now, to appeal to the modern American market, they had to raise it up a little bit, put plastic around the wheel arches and called it cross country, because you can't necessarily call it a wagon. They sort of did an Outback treatment to it. But a bit disappointing. If you look at the length of the car, you'll see that the driver's seat is about halfway down the length, and then you kind of do the math. If there's a rear tire, so the rear seat passenger has about that amount of space. Apply that to the front seat where they have more. So disappointing second row room. Lots of versatility though, and lots of coolness if you are a fan of Swedish wagons. We are currently sitting in a 2023 Toyota Corolla Hatch. This is the GR trim. Comes with a 6-speed manual. Nice infotainment system. Decent amount of glossy black plastic finish. Nice thin steering wheel. Nice texture on the leather. Digital dash display. Manual adjustable seats. They're foam, but nice bolstering around the lower back and around the legs, although the seat cushion itself is a bit short. Not much thigh support. If you look at the outside of the vehicle, the proportions are quite stylish. You have these big fender flares around the wheels for the GR trim. Nice big aggressive grille. It almost looks like a Renault. But if you look at the vehicle, the driver's seat is about halfway, more than halfway down the entire length of the car, which means that when you go into the back seats, oh boy, I'm sitting behind myself at 6'1". My knees are smushed into the back of the seat. Fortunately, they're foam, so they compress a little bit, but you can feel the spring supports of the back seat cushion. Headroom is very compromised. My head is not touching, but my hair is definitely touching the roof. Decent sized blind spot, pretty small rear window. So this is really a two-seater with some room for some toddlers or a Pomeranian. Plastic trim on the upper door sills of the rear seats, and kind of a sloping, compromising view out. So definitely not comfortable for road trips for adults in the back. An actual hatch at the DC Auto Show. One of the only remaining subcompact hatchbacks still on the market in the US in 2023, the Kia Rio hatchback. Pretty plainly styled, it's a basic car. You can tell this is not one of the fresher redesigns of Kia. This is very kind of mid-20-teens design language. And this is tucked away in the corner because there's no demand for it these days. Everyone wants SUVs, Hatch-UVs, crossovers, COV, raised, whatever, just not this. You'll still see it in Europe, though. Let's see how it's like on the inside. You get inside the Rio hatchback, and it becomes pretty apparent that there is a combination of value and economy here. So while everything is nicely styled, you have nice chrome trim around the dash, big touchscreen with the volume and tuning knob, just basic gauges. Once you start feeling around, I'm going to be the stereotypical automotive journalist here. Plastic everything. Nothing is padded. This is a very basic economy car, to quote myself from a couple of years ago. If you want to buy a car, but you don't want to pay for a car, this is what you get. Standard shifter with backwards manual sequential controls, parking brake, very basic economy car seats, just kind of soft foam with not much bolstering. Seat cushions are very flat, very short. Steering wheel only tilts, does not telescope. Pretty good visibility out the front. Below average visibility in the back. Speaking of the back, let's see what the comfort level is back there. See, once you kind of see how much space there is between the rear bumper, the rear tire, and the rear door, you already start to come to some conclusions. And those conclusions come to fruition. Knees are wedged into the back of the seat. I almost have enough headroom. Hair is kind of brushing the roof on the sides. Of course, rear door is nothing but plastic. And rear window kind of tape is there. I'm sure that's for rollover protection. This might be a good entry-level budget car, but it's not very comfortable, and as you can tell by the amount of people surrounding it, it's not a very desirable one either. This is the all-new 2024 Subaru Impreza hatchback. It is now sold in an automatic only. and also a hatchback only. This is the RS trim, which is new for 2024, a throwback to the old Subaru RS of the early 2000s. This comes with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder made into a CVT, makes about 180 horsepower or so. So a little bit of tweaks to the body lines, definitely bigger wheel arches. Of course, they will be coming out with a Crosstrek version, another Hatch-UV, which is simply just same exact car, just raised up 3 inches off the ground for some reason, and given plastic treatment around the wheel arches. The inside of the new Impreza is very similar to the last generation. You now have the large touchscreen in the middle, traditional shifter. You have seat heaters in this trim. The nice padding materials on the doors. Very nice texture. You know, there's some plastic around. This still is an economy car. Seat cushions. Seat back has a lot of bolstering. Seat cushion, though, is pretty flat. Very much like the last generation. Great visibility at the front, just like the previous generation. You have a corner window, pretty thin A-pillars. And we'll try out the back seats. Here's the back seat of the Subaru Impreza. We have about an inch or two, about an inch of legroom behind myself at 6'1". You have hard trim on the top of the doors, but a padded armrest. And my hair is just barely brushing the roof back here. You have a little bit of a corner window there, but a pretty small to medium-sized blind spot. The seat cushion is pretty short, pretty flat, not much thigh support. Seat back is pretty flat as well. You do have a USB and a USB-C outlet back here. And it's a nice car. Not much change from the previous generations, mostly just an outside styling revision. I think it looks nice, especially in this red color. Nice and sporty for the RS trim. A little bit more power, too. Only in America can your daily driver double as a hearse that you can then take a ride into your own funeral after being run over by the damn thing. Look at how huge this thing is. I'm 6 feet, and the top of the hood's nearly at my shoulder line. I know that they make the front of these things tall and flat for pedestrian safety, but good lord, this is getting out of control. America. Here we are at the Nissan stand. This is the Nissan Leaf, classic all-electric hatchback. It is a pure hatchback, as opposed to this thing, the Nissan Kicks. Yet another Hatch-UV here at the Washington Auto Show, based on the subcompact Versa car, 120-something horsepower with a CVT, drum brakes. Actually, no, they actually went to disc brakes, looks like. They changed that, so that's good. I've heard it's, relatively agile, but slow and kind of droney. Good mileage, 31 city, 36 highway. But gosh, I do not like these things. Just make it a stupid hatchback. It's a nice looking car. I like the color. I like the design. Just lower the damn thing by 2 inches, please, and it'll make the world a better place. You're going to get even better mileage because the car's going to be lower to the ground, less in the air. You're going to get better handling because the center of gravity is lower. I don't understand this body cladding 3-inch ride height increase fetish that America's going through right now. What I love, stuff like this, just classic sedan, the Altima, aggressive wheel design, just simple, basic, roomy, refined. This is what people should want. A mid-size architecture over subcompact, raised, masculinified architecture. This is a 2023 Toyota Sienna, one of the best known names in the minivan category. Redesigned the last couple of years as a hybrid only, and we're going to see what this is like. Again, we have the traditional Toyota infotainment console up here. Lots and lots of storage space. You have 3-tier storage in the doors. Nice fake wood trim paneling along the dash. You could put something in there. several cup holders up front, large cavernous cubby down there. You can even fit some stuff down in here. However, the seat itself is a bit firm. Definitely not much bolstering. This is not a sports seat. Moderate bolstering on the back. Seat cushion's pretty flat, but it's comfortable. A good amount of support. Nice moonroof up here. Plenty of headroom. Nice visibility out the front. Pretty, small to medium size A-pillars. They do give you a little corner window here. Let's go sit in the second row. See what that's like. You have power sliding doors, a staple of minivans. You get in here, wow, look how much room there is to get in. Door closes from the inside. The control to move the seat forward and back is this little lever down in here. Lots and lots of motion, plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom. I would say that the seat is mounted a little bit high. These are captain's chairs. The seat cushions are a little bit shorter than the ones up in the front seat. Seat back's a little bit flatter, but they're plenty comfortable. They'd be good for long road trips. You do have the second row window does open. You have seat back pockets in each back seat. USB charging ports, of course, more cup holders, and there's also cup holders in the doors. Headroom's pretty good. The sunroof does scallop away, so you do have headroom back there. Large trunk area, especially with the third row seats folding down, and with the wide range of motion in the second row seats, you probably have ample legroom in the third row as well. So if you want an efficient minivan that comes in all-wheel drive, really the Toyota Sienna right now in the year 2023 is the only option. Let's check out the exterior styling. What I find hilarious about the Sienna is they basically infuse the styling cues from other vehicles. So the front grille looks very Camry-like, just the corners of the grille and the way that the Toyota emblem kind of is thrust forward in this little point. And my favorite part is they have literally the wheel arch character line from the Supra. Then they put it in the Highlander, they put it in the Sienna, and they also have the drooping taillight motif that comes from the Supra as well. So, in this dark blue color, very elegant, very nice, and most importantly, not an SUV. Ladies and gentlemen, we found another one. Nope, not this. This is just your normal schlepper Toyota Corolla hatchback. And then there is this, the Toyota Corolla Cross. This is a subcompact SUV, Hatch-UV thing that is based on the Toyota Corolla. Has a CVT with about 130 horsepower, if I remember correctly. And from what other journalists have said, it's kind of a whiny, underpowered vehicle that was made simply for sales. Not an ounce of emotion was devoted into the design of this car. It is a purely function, point A to point B. I need a car, but I don't want to buy a car, and I know Toyotas are good, and I also want to sit up high vehicle. Alright, here's Hatch-UV number, I've even lost count at this point. This is the Chevy Trailblazer. Gone is the Chevy Cruze, Chevy Sonic, Chevy Spark, Chevy Impala. All the cars are gone and they're being replaced with this. Essentially, this is the size of a compact hatchback. Has been raised off the ground about 3 inches. And with plastic cladding and all-wheel drive, they call it an SUV. No, sir, this is a Hatch-UV. They are taking over America. They need to be stopped. Although, it does look kind of nice in here. Let me sit in the back seat here.
The seats are really comfortable.
Seat cushion's extremely flat. My knees are way up in the air. I do have some leg room, although my hair is brushing the roof due to the sunroof up here. It's when you get inside you really realize that these are based on the bones of compact and subcompact cars. You get in, it looks nice at first, but there's less substance the more that you explore. Holy crap, look at that blind spot. Have I mentioned that I hate these things? The infiltration of America by Hatch-UVs. It will never end. Last but not least, we have the Lexus UX. This is the F Sport trim, so at least you have the wheel arches color matched to the body. But you can clearly tell this is a hatchback. We've parked next to it in a Subaru Impreza, and it's literally the same exact size as Subaru Impreza hatchback. But if you don't get the F Sport trim, those wheel arches are a body cladding, plastic body cladding, and you have about 2 or 3 inches in the wheel well that don't necessarily need to be there. You lower it down. This is a Lexus hatchback, but of course they wouldn't sell, so they called a SUV, or as we all know by the end of this, a Hatch-UV. The next virus that's going through the automotive industry of the United States. The craze of Hatch-UVs. Hopefully at the next auto show, it'll be less of a fad, but I suspect not.